Hey everybody, this is Petey from the Spin Rack. We also have,
Calvin Ellis, ready to rock.
so we have been told that we have pictures where we have Giancarlo Esposito as a mystery villain in the Captain America Brave New World, and people feel that this is the MCU. Norman Osborn, he was initially announced as possibly being Professor Xavier, but they're saying, "Hey, this is our new Norman Osborn." What do you got to say?
Trash. Trash.
So maybe I shouldn't have done this with just Cal.
Trash. Why would he be Norman Osborn?
They people they like Giancarlo Esposito, and that's it. I can't
No,
disagree.
see, they don't understand what they're doing over here because they think I don't. At this point, I'm not even sure if they understand what. I don't know if they even know what they think they're doing at this point. Giancarlo Esposito does not look a thing like Norman Osborn. Norman Osborn is a white Caucasian male. Giancarlo Esposito is black and Italian. Okay, they don't look alike at all. However, there are several characters. There are several characters within the Marvel universe that Giancarlo Esposito could actually play and bring to light, and that character could get a lot of spotlight and prominence. And instead, they do this. So, it's like, are at some point, I'll try. I'm gonna stay level. I'm gonna stay level. I won't go. I
Level
promise I won't
at
go
this
off the hook or
point.
anything of that nature. Huh?
Level at this point.
At some point, you just want to say, like, are you stupid? How many characters do you have here that would fit this guy perfectly? Perfectly. And instead, we want to keep doing the race swaps. We want to keep feeding trolls, okay? And we want to keep doing stuff that is shown not to necessarily work, you know? And we're just doing it for why? Because we want our universe to look different. That universe already looks different. You have plenty of characters that he could play that Giancarlo Esposito would fit right into, that somebody else couldn't play, to be quite honest. And instead, we get the race swaps, we get the gender swaps, and I don't think they even understand why they're doing it at this point. I think there's just somebody like, oh yeah, we can change this up. It'd be cool. Yeah, we do. Like, no, Norman Osborn doesn't look a thing like this. What's more, we just had a movie with Norman Osborn in there, and we know what Norman Osborn looks like. He looks like William Defoe.
Well, I wouldn't go. That's the thing. I wouldn't go. I never with Norman Osborn. I never saw William Dafoe as him. I didn't think. I thought his face was better for the
I'm
Green
saying white
Goblin.
male, white male. I'm not saying he's got to look exactly like he did in the comic. I don't
No,
expect
but
that.
I'm saying,
White and
I'm
male.
getting to a point. I'm getting to a point here, right? So ultimately, one of the things, and the same thing can happen here, is people go to the hair and be like, wait a second, you know, Norman Osborn's hair is kind of has some sort of waves of curls in it. Giancarlo Esposito, he can have that, but at the same time, when a lot of comic people push back and they say, how did this kind of wavy or curly hair? And then I think comic creators were just like, look at Nixon. That's the type of hair that Norman Osborn has. Think of that as a younger man, Oh, don't think of Nixon's face, but it's just like, so you can find the hair, you can find someone that looks like him, you can style the hair to look like that, but ultimately, this is the classic. Hey, I'm doing Batman. I want to use Michael Keaton because we like him. It's a classic old Hollywood. Hey, I want to work with Giancarlo Esposito, and he's a name property. Everybody loves him now, so it's like you have to imagine that Giancarlo's been a working actor, and he talks about going to baseball games at the Mets for being famous up in the nosebleed seats. And at some point in his career, he was going to, I guess it was the Mets and the Yankees game, and he's still in the same seats, and Spike Lee is down down close to close to the dugout, And he looking down and say, "There's Spike," and he calls Spike up, and he's like, "Spike, did you become?" But he didn't talk about money. He didn't talk about the money scale. He talked about, "Spike, are you a Yankees fan now? We're Mets fans." He's like, "No, he's like, I'm not a Mets fan anymore. I need to be with a winner. I need to be with a winner." So he switched over. But the thing of it is like he been, working and not, doing things, and people late in his career, decided that this is the guy, and now they want to work with him. But he's always had this talent, and with that talent, he could play some other character or some totally new character that works into your universe rather than doing Norman Osborn. But since Norman Osborn is a big mover and shaker, like at some point he was like the Lex Luthor, the post crisis Lex Luthor of Marvel. So that's what they're gonna try to play with him at.
And that's malarkey. Okay, because once again, all it does is legitimize that the most important characters are the white ones. There's no black characters that he could play that I guess would be important. That would be important enough. No black characters that would work or that people would enjoy. They can be brought to prominence. We can only race swap. Bunch of malarkey.
I mean, it's old school Hollywood. No, that's not a defense. It's just what it is, and we can't
Old school
get out of it.
malarkey.
We can't get out of it. Whereas, there's not saying that they should or shouldn't. It's just saying, I've been complaining about it enough in the time I've been around since Michael Clark Duncan was the kingpin, and people say there's nobody could play this. There's no white actors that have that sort of feel. Like, all right, guys, this is white people saying it, not black people. So it's just one of those things where it's like, who's the person that's that's around that we like. We like this person, and then when you see it, oh, nobody else could play Batman. Only this person. Only Michael Clark Duncan. No one else could have done it. And then next thing you know, you have who's that? Vincent D'Onofrio playing the Kingpin, and then you're like, oh, we needed to wait to find someone like that. It's like, yo, you can find a big bruiser that can act and to play the Kingpin, but this is what they do, and they've gotten him. They got their hooks on Giancarlo Esposito. Hopefully, the product this comes out, and whatever they have planned after that actually comes out, because we're also hearing that Mahershala Ali is possibly leaving Marvel because the stuff isn't happening. So it's taking too long for these things to come out, and Marvel's doing less stuff. So I guess that's about it on my end. Cal, you have any other thoughts?
Stop these affirmative action casting decisions. Okay, you got plenty of characters there. You don't have to keep this nonsense pandering up. It's ridiculous at this point. You want to put what is it? You want to have more diversity. Guess what? The Marvel universe is already quite diverse. You have male characters, you have female characters, you have black and white characters, you have characters from China, you have characters who are Asian American, you have characters who are quadriplegic. Okay, you've got plenty of characters to choose from. However, okay, the idea, the idea that somehow this is a good thing really shows you that you guys have no idea what the heck that you're doing at the end of the day. You need to stop it. You really do.
But that's the thing. How do you stop something that's been going on
By
since
not doing it.
they can't? If they decided, Harvey
By
Dent,
not doing it.
what's the name,
Give it to be
wake up
all those
today,
characters.
wake up today and decide to actually stop after all these years of doing it, it's
Yeah.
hard case to do.
Look at what they did when they casted for Captain America. I'm pretty certain they had some concerns. Okay, they wanted an actor they could tie down to a contract. They definitely wanted somebody who weren't going to have to spend too much money on. Probably somebody who didn't have too much exposure, so they could actually let this person grow into the role as a people coming out for him. But that guy was going to be a certain height. That guy was going to have a certain look. That guy was probably going to have to dye his hair, so on and so forth. I'm like, okay, reasonable things at the end of it. Reasonable things. So it's not that they always keep doing it or this is something as old as time. They do it when they want to. Stop doing it. Not hard. You didn't do it with Captain America. You didn't look at Captain America and say, you know what? Let's put LL Cool J in the role and see what the hell happens. They're like, no, absolutely not. They were starting off their universe. They knew what they needed for Captain America in order to make it work. Did that right there. No different with Thor. No different with Iron Man. No different with Rhodey. when they first came out either. You know, they didn't decide, you know what, let's switch this up and make Rosie, let's make Rhodey, East Indian at the end of the day. Okay, that'll be fine. And the audience won't notice the difference as long as we get the right complexion. It'll be fine. It's just Rhodey. Like, no, you knew who you needed to cast, and you did such. So they do. You can say, yeah, it's old. They've been doing it this. You don't have to do it. And they show all the time they don't have to do it. And what's more, they don't do it. They don't do it when they don't want to do it. When they understand, hey, this is what we need in order to sell this particular character, no problem. The other stuff is like, yeah, let's, we don't care. And then you have an actor like Giancarlo Esposito, good actor. Want to say he's got the hot ticket right now, cool. But wouldn't he be much better suited up with the character, where that role could actually grow and just keep going from one actor to the next, as opposed to, hey, let's try this out. We know when Michael Clark Duncan played the Kingpin, I really didn't care because I knew the movie was a one-off. It wasn't going to go it's not going to go anywhere or anything of that nature. And part of the reason was they didn't look for a guy, okay, who looked like the Kingpin. Now, okay, I always have trouble pronouncing his last name, but you have the current actor, and then it becomes like, oh wow, no, you didn't care. You thought you were going to be doing something different. You thought it would, you thought for whatever reason it would be cool. You liked Michael Clark Duncan. Of course, he's going to say yes. He's an actor. Got to act. Got to eat, right? But you don't have to. But you don't have to do it. And then the key characters, you didn't decide to recast on that. You don't have to do it. You just do it anyway. And it's rare that I see these type of changes take hold. Okay, we're like, hey, we did a race swap, and this is who this character really is. We didn't realize for 40 years this character was white, but when we switched him to black, all of a sudden, yeah, this is who this character really was all along. No, that's never been the case. You don't have to do it.
You're gonna make me do it. And I'm totally in agreement of not doing it, but we have Nick Fury, we have Heimdall, Hogan, we have so many characters in Marvel that have not, definitely Nick Fury as far as a character that's now officially black, but of course they did it in a comic, which they shouldn't have swapped them in the comic book, but they did it. So it's just like in the supporting cast, they're constantly in the Marvel universe this thing for the entire run of it, where they're just like, here's this character, let's swap these out from going to the Fantastic Four with Alicia. Like, you just keep going with the supporting characters, and they already showed with the Fantastic Four movie, they had one of the generals who was black, is not a totally independent character, is not created anything, so they could have stuck to just characters that were supporting characters to fill in the idea of having some diversity in there. But they constantly look at, who's this person's supporting cast? Let's put this person in. Let's put that person in. So it's a thing that's been in the Marvel universe for a pretty long time. And I would say, because you had Nick Fury at the end of Captain America, that's how you get, he was a part of that thing too. So, this is the thing that I have had issue with Hollywood, where they sit around and people wake up from time to time and decide, oh, tomorrow I don't like Tom Cruise in this thing, or I don't like this character, or James, this, that, and the other. But a lot of the times for it to really take heed, the take thing is when the Daredevil thing happens, to be like, for people to really start saying anything, because it becomes a little, like a little too late, because I've been, watching these movies and being like, why? And the hard part is if it was successful enough for, if the Daredevil thing did take, if they did a well enough job that it worked, and the next, take, then we're stuck with, these actors, the TV shows where they swap the Ben Urich, or the Ben Urich that doesn't look anything like Ben Urich, getting the casting wrong. So that's the thing. I'm in agreement with you. I do feel it should stop. But the hard part is knowing Hollywood and just waking up in the morning and saying, whether it be who's my best friend I'll put in the story, or who's around that I like. Here's Harvey Dent was making Billy D. Williams, and that sort of thing. So it's like not only Billy D, but Michael Keaton as Batman also. Whereas the only character that looked as close to the character in that Batman series is is Vicky Vale. So the commissioner looked like Chief O'Hara, that sort of thing, but it was a big seller. So I mean, I say that to say I'm in agreement, but I only gotta push back to say Hollywood. They've been doing it so much, and they've been doing it with Marvel so much. And comic book people, Joe Quesada is kind of like, "We're here." Sam Jackson, that's Nick Fury. Come on, see us. And then Sam Jackson picked it up. And as you said, actors not going to turn down a role. And next thing I said, "Hey, why? Let's put him at the end of Iron Man. See what people say." Ah! No Steranko, Nick Fury. No semblance of trying to do that sort of thing with your Secret Invasion. Less so with what's the name? At least Agents of Shield, a little closer to what the design value isn't up there. But I'm just pushing back to say. But I am in agreement. I am definitely in agreement with what you were saying. Any other
Well,
thing? Oh, sorry. Go.
because every time you do the race swap, there are legitimate the characters that are legitimately of that race that you don't push to the forefront. They just stay there unused, okay, and for a lot of times unknown. Like watch. I'm a big fan of Arthurian romance, and I was watching. I forget what it was that I was watching, but they did a bunch of race swaps on the show for the Knights of the Round Table. Most people don't even realize there was an actual black member of the Knights of the Round Table, but they don't read the stories. They think they're doing something new. And then they think the audience wants it. They think, well, the audience wants to see themselves reflected in the show. I'm like, no, the audience wants to see a good story first and foremost. The pandering, the audience doesn't necessarily care about if the story is good. Most of the time, this audience, especially with the male audience, they'll just superimpose themselves on the character. But anytime I look and I'm like, okay, you did this race swap, but you had a character here. Okay, instead of coming over here and making Hendel black, you could have introduced Horus, who was a good part of Thor's story, over some issues. Okay, and the same thing. Every single race swap that you did, every single gender swap you did, there is a character. Okay, there is a character and a character that was usable that you could have put into that story as well. The idea of what I mean, I understand that you want to use the Warriors Three, you want the Three Musketeers aspect and the comedy that these guys bring, but then for the amount of uses that you actually got out of them in the film, you could have still just left those. You could have left those guys as they were and just brought in some more characters. If you really want the diversity and you want to expand it, well, bring in the other characters as opposed to these swaps and say we're just gonna minimize the cast and budget, okay? But we'll make certain that we do the pandering. There are a bunch of great characters just sitting there. Okay, they're literally just sitting there waiting to be used. And then when people do use them, like, oh, this person is great. Why did I never like this guy? Because nobody ever used them. That's all. That's all that it is. Norman Osborn is who Norman Osborn is. Changing him, okay, doing a race swap, especially. I know you were joking, but the whole idea of, well, look at the hair texture has to be one of the worst things that I've heard in a while. Okay,
Nope.
and you have
Man, that was
look at the other characters. Look at the other characters that you can. I mean, especially with Spider-Man. Okay, Spider-Man has probably the best rogue gallery hands down, and the most diversification amongst his rogue his gallery. It's quite diverse. You can pick and choose without having to do that. That goes back to what I said earlier. They think this stuff is stupid. They think they know better than comics. Oh, this is just blah blah blah. This is juvenile trash, as Alan Moore would like to say. We know better, so we'll just go over here and do this type of stuff. And they don't even, I mean, they won't even do so much as turn the page where they might say, oh, wait a minute, who's this character? Who's this character? Half of them think the only black character is Luke Cage, T'Challa, and the Falcon. There's plenty of characters here. You don't need to do this. And it stops when you just stop. You don't have to continue.
well. I would, and then since I've kind of pushed the envelope one way, and the hard part is that these Spider-Man stories have kind of tried to push the father figure aspect, whereas Peter Parker, and definitely not with any of the heroes, he wasn't the closest thing to someone who kind of he looked to was Torch, that kind of inspired him to get back and putting the costume on. But the closest thing he had to a father figure early on, before Captain Stacy kind of took it away to make a bigger moment, was Robbie Robertson. And you could have you could have Giancarlo as a Robbie Robinson, but you had to put back the whole newspaper type of stuff. But they were trying to do it, I think, in either the second, or I think it was the second. I don't remember seeing the third in the movie. They were trying to have that moment where Bill Nunn was like a person who was supportive of Peter Parker, and there was a great character in the comic book, and at the same time of being this person who's a soundboard to appreciating Peter, noticing some of the things that he could possibly know that Peter Parker is Spider-Man, and at the same time his character was a little more deeper than most because he also had struggles with his own son that he was trying to connect with at the same time, where his son is, I guess, a little bit younger than Peter Parker, but of age, and he's kind of struggling. So it's definitely a great character. So there are just to point out, there are characters that are not just, and I'm not even saying, like immediately go to like a Prowler situation or any other villain that you can find that are a black guy. You have supporting characters that are good, and or you have characters that are going to be necessary to your plot that you can put them in there and figure this out, or characters that we don't, this thing of like the same thing with what was it like a like a villain that we don't really, this almost stays in costume all the time, but maybe there's some subterfuge and then he's going to show up as someone else, but I pretty much doubt it. They want to have something where they can cash into it to say, Marvel got it right. We did it. We got it right. So we came from Breaking Bad and all this other great stuff. So, but that's an example of how you can have a character. But then you say you had who's it? Iron Man, Happy, Mysterio, to a lesser extent the Vultures. All these guys have kind of been the father figure in these stories. Even Norman Osborn kind of was getting into that thing with the nice version of him and the Dr. Octopus at times in the last movie. So he's had this heavy father figure thing in all these movies where he was kind of as Spider-Man, the punk kid to a lot of the adults. So he only had two, I guess you could say, Captain Stacy. So that would be a great character, but you'd have to get to some more supporting characters, and it's kind of hard because they've made up these characters from whole cloth, like Ned Leeds, and that goes to what you were saying, and other characters. So that's all I got to say on this. I just want to point out this news that's going out there. Any last words?
I don't like it. This is not. We've already seen they did the race swap with the Shocker. No big deal. No big deal because the Shocker was put in there as a supporting character. He wasn't in costume, so it didn't really matter. Okay, we've seen this with Electro. That was mixed. I think it was overwhelmingly, not viewed too great. Okay, because of how they decided to portray it, even though they got to bring Jamie Foxx back again. There is no addition. Okay, there's no addition to this character for the race swap. Okay, it's either the character is going to sink or swim based on the story, the interaction, okay, between the villain and the hero, everything that goes into the elements of making a good story. So we've seen it before. We've seen it before. It doesn't come out and do anything for this particular story. And then I'm like, because I got this with Electro or with the Shocker, okay, I might have been able to get it. I might have been able to get a good story with the Prowler, or even a character like Sly. Both characters are black. I might have been able to get something good with that. We're like, okay, what was this guy's story? Oh, he just created this suit. It was non-friction. He's able to do so on and so forth. Okay, is there actually something we could do with this? Yeah, there's some stuff we could actually do with this. We could play around. We could play around with this. We could have some fun. Maybe he's not going to be the prominent villain. Okay, but we could still get some good uses out of this character. And we've seen this on more than one. I've seen this more than once. Okay, where it's that type of villain, the guy who's not necessarily the lead, endears himself to the audience because these guys play around with them a bit more. Okay, and they're more creative. But instead, I'm still waiting for the race swap that proves, hey, that's what we needed. We needed to change this guy's race. Now we got it correct. Okay, I mean, and Nick Fury. Okay, we're not selling Nick Fury. We're selling Sam Jackson. We're not selling Nick Fury. Anybody who's read Nick Fury understands what Nick Fury brings to the table. That was not Nick Fury coming to the table. That was Sam Jackson. Okay, so if that works for everybody, that's fine. But you missed out on Nick Fury. That's the thing that you didn't get. Okay, you got the spot, but you didn't get Nick Fury. And no, it wasn't that you didn't get Nick Fury because he wasn't white. You didn't get Nick Fury because they were selling Sam Jackson.
Yeah. So that's it. They get their buzz, but we haven't gotten we're getting diminished returns in these things. So it's almost like the Yankees when they'd announce someone big. Oh, this new pitcher, this new this new player that's going to bring us in, but it's just like the same like the Knicks at times back before they did their playoff run recently, where they just kind of get a buzz of a name and then nothing would come of it. So um, it's tough. It's tough at this time, where you're still sort of going through this and knowing how Hollywood is. That's kind of what I kind of expected. So, all right, that's about it. Spin a rack.
Hey, we're out.
And where's that thing out?